Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Mel Volchikio. I am a Senior Product Marketing Manager for Ecosystem Trust here at Atlassian, and I'm very excited to talk to everybody about the new Runs on Atlassian badge. There has been a lot of buzz and excitement about this new badge, and in this session, we're going to get into all the details. So let's go ahead and get started. Here is our agenda for the next hour. First, we're going to cover the, oops, my computer is trying to update itself. All right. First, we're going to cover the ins and outs of the new Runs on Atlassian badge. So what it is, why it matters, and where you can find it. Next, you're going to meet 4 partners from 4 different marketplace companies who all have Runs on Atlassian apps available. We've teed up a great discussion for you all where you're going to hear different perspectives on why Runs on Atlassian was needed and how it helps customers like you. And then finally, I hope that you brought your questions because we're going to open it up for some audience Q&A. All right, first things first, why Runs on Atlassian? Now, as a customer, some of these challenges might sound familiar because you've run into them yourself. We know that in cloud, apps are just as important as they were on data center, and many of our customers are using apps to perfectly tailor the Atlassian Cloud platform to the exact way that they want it to work for your unique business needs. But we also know that apps work differently in cloud, and there are different implications for trust and security. Some cloud apps are hosted by marketplace partners, which means that customers may need to do detailed reviews before installing them. Fortunately, this may also sound familiar to you if you've ever experienced a bottleneck with your migration or your app reviews, or even had to block app adoption entirely. So all apps in the Atlassian marketplace must meet Atlassian security requirements, but we know that customers want to understand what partners are doing over and above and verifying for themselves that an app meets trust needs. So we have the privacy and security tab in the marketplace, which is great and allows partners to disclose trust information about their app. But unfortunately, it's not always easy to compare information across the different apps. So to underline that point a bit, let's look at a visual. All apps have to meet certain security requirements to list in the marketplace. But with different hosting configurations across different cloud apps, customers have to do quite a bit of research to understand each app's approach to trust and security. For example, those servers might be located all over the globe. And there's a lot more that we at Atlassian can do to help customers streamline the process of vetting and researching different apps and their security postures. And that's where Runs on Atlassian comes in. Runs on Atlassian apps are all hosted on the Atlassian infrastructure through Forge. That means that every Runs on Atlassian app operates in the same standardized environment with Atlassian's robust security controls. Runs on Atlassian apps also limit data egress, so you can be sure that your information is not being shared outside the Atlassian platform without your consent. So let's take a quick pause here before we go further. In that example that we just discussed, what makes things challenging for you as the customer is the variation between app configurations, not necessarily the trust postures of the apps themselves. We know that many partners in the marketplace make substantial investments in app security that go well over and beyond marketplace requirements. The point that I really want you to take home is that there's just a lot of variation across partner hosted apps, and we know that customers just need to do more research to make sure that those apps are meeting your security needs. When a Runs on Atlassian app is available, it can help customers streamline decision making or just speed up security reviews because you know that the app is running in Atlassian's environment, which has already been vetted and is subject to Atlassian's robust security controls. Okay, if that all makes sense, then we're going to get into the details of what makes an app Runs on Atlassian. So, requirement number 1, the app has to be a Forge app. Forge allows us to host the partner's app code in our environment where it runs on infrastructure provisioned, managed, and monitored by Atlassian. But while all Runs on Atlassian apps are Forge, not all Forge are Runs on Atlassian. This is a very important distinction, and it's the reason why we didn't just make a Forge badge for the marketplace. Forge is a powerful and flexible platform that gives developers the option to run some parts of the app remotely. So there are some Forge apps that process workloads on an external server or store data in an external database. And those types of apps are excluded from runs in Atlassian because they can send customer data to a server that Atlassian doesn't control. And because Forge apps use our built-in storage solution, they automatically inherit data residency for all regions supported by the host product. So for example, if an admin pins data to Singapore or Germany, app data stored in Forge will automatically follow suit. And then finally, strict egress controls. Runs in Atlassian only permits data egress for analytics and logs, which you can turn off as a customer at any time. The app cannot communicate with any other external domains. It's essentially behind Atlassian's secure network settings. As you can see, the requirements for runs in Atlassian are pretty strict, which is necessary to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our security-conscious customers. But there are a few major categories of apps that cannot be runs on Atlassian. The first of which are Connect apps, which are partner hosted. The second would be any Forge remote apps, which, as we just discussed, can use external storage or compute. And then the third would be integrations, which need to send data off platform by design. That means that you may not be able to meet all of your app needs exclusively using runs in Atlassian apps if you need integrations or if the app can't run fully on Forge. In those cases, we still recommend checking other trust signals like compliance certifications, Cloud Fortified, and working with a partner to get the information that you need to verify that the app meets security needs. All right. Another really unique and super fun quality of Runs on Atlassian is the way that the badge is checked and applied. Runs on Atlassian is the first marketplace badge to feature automatic verification. And because Forge apps are hosted by Atlassian, we just have greater visibility into how the app is built. That means that we can be sure the app is using Forge storage, providing data residency, etc. So when an app is listed on the marketplace, meets eligibility requirements, and passes the automated checks, that badge is going to appear. This means that if you see the runs on the Atlassian badge, you know that the checks have passed. Now, I mentioned Cloud Fortified a few minutes ago, and I want to call out a common question that we're getting is the difference between runs on Atlassian and Cloud Fortified. They're actually representing different things. And because of that, an app can be runs on Atlassian or Cloud Fortified, or it could have both badges. These are not mutually exclusive. Runs on Atlassian is just what the name says. It's an app that's hosted by Atlassian and keeps data stored on our platform. This is a simple technical fact that we can check for and verify. Cloud Fortified, on the other hand, shows that a partner has invested in a set of practices and behaviors that increase trust. These include things like participating in a bug bounty program, providing advanced support in SLAs, and meeting certain uptime and reliability requirements. These practices show that the partner is prepared to support enterprise customer needs in a more holistic way. All right, now before we move on to the marketplace experience, let's do a quick recap. So, Runs on Atlassian helps customers make faster decisions about app purchases because all Runs on Atlassian apps run in the same standardized Atlassian environment. Runs on Atlassian apps also include strict data controls, and checking apps for eligibility is an automated process instead of something that's attested by the partner. But Runs on Atlassian is not a silver bullet. Not every app can qualify, and customers will still need to do your own due diligence to ensure that apps meet your needs. All right, now let's move on to what you're going to see in the marketplace. As of today, there are over 600 Runs on Atlassian apps available in the marketplace. Those 600 apps include many familiar app names and logos. You might already be using apps that now qualify for Runs on Atlassian. And in a few minutes, you're going to hear from some of these marketplace partners. But first, let's take a quick look at where the badge appears. The Runs on Atlassian badge is visible on the app listing and can be filtered for in the marketplace. On the listing page, when you hover over the badge, you're going to see an explanation of the 3 main Runs on Atlassian criteria that we discussed earlier, as well as a link where you can go to read more about the requirements. All right, enough from me. Now that we've heard what the badge is and how you can leverage it, let's bring in some new faces to this webinar. Please join me in welcoming our 4 panels who are going to join us today, our partner panelists. Everybody give them a silent round of applause. All right, welcome panelists. let's just kick out things off with a quick round of intros. I'd love to hear from each of you about who you are, tell us about yourself and your marketplace apps. Julian, let's start with you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Julian. I've been in the Atlassian ecosystem for nearly 10 years now. I'm located in Germany and currently supporting Seibert Group, which is an Atlassian Platinum solution and Platinum marketplace partner, as a tech lead. On the marketplace side, we are mostly known for the apps Draw.io and Aura and Agile Hive. Even though I'm also present at some Atlassian events here and there, I still write code every day pretty much. And in the past few months, I've been involved in developing custom Forge apps for customers and migrating products to Forge for the Runs in Atlassian batch. So thank you for the invitation.
Okay, I think I can go next. My name is Julia. Glad to be here to do with you guys, and greetings from Argentina, Buenos Aires. I've been working in software development for like, oh my God, maybe 20 years, a lot. And somehow I always worked around products for business and processes automation. So my current position is product lead at TitanApps, and TitanApps also fall under the same niche. Our main products are Smart Checklist and Smart Templates, and they are lightweight tools to break down complex tasks into actionable to-dos. So they help to automate repetitive processes and also to enforce consistency in virtually any use case, be it something like definition of done, like risk management, approvals, sign-offs, procurement, HR processes, even manufacturing and similar cases.
Hello, my name is Martin, and I head up the AppFox team. I'm based in the UK, so you might be able to tell from my accent. I've been in the B2B SaaS world for most of my career, so I've kind of picked up a few things along the way. Our apps are focused on helping our customers to work faster and smarter within the Atlassian ecosystem and a few others. So we've got a few main products. The workflows and compliance apps are focused on Confluence and helping you to control and secure and automate collaboration. Optimizer runs on Atlassian app, and that's focused on Jira. That's probably our most famous app, and it helps you to manage your instance better. So any of you Jira admins out there who kind of get frustrated with custom fields, Optimizer is a help. And it helps you to work in a really streamlined kind of way. So super happy to be here, and thanks for the invite.
Hey everyone, I'm Darin. I'm based in the San Francisco area and I run Opus Guard. I've been in the Atlassian ecosystem for, gosh, at least like 7 to 8 years now. I am a former Atlassian, but we actually run an app within the ecosystem now. And what Opus Guard is all about is information governance. So it's a big focus specifically on compliance and how teams can manage all the content they have, classify it, regulate its retention, and then safely remove it. And so commonly, a lot of our customers are highly regulated industries or those with a lot of sensitive information that they want to keep a tighter control on. And I'm really excited to be here and talk all about Forge and how we make it happen.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to have you guys on this panel today. Really appreciate you taking the time. My first question, some of the folks in the audience may not be super familiar with Forge, and I would love to hear you describe Forge for them. Julia, do you want to start us?
Yep, sure. I would like to go with this explain me like I'm five way. It works in many cases. So in this sense, Forge is something like a Lego from Atlassian and gives developers all the special Lego pieces that they need to build apps that work right inside Jira. So they do not need to bring their own stuff, like no infrastructure required. Everything is already set up and provided. So this way, it's obviously faster, easier, and well, safer to build applications.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
someone can
that's
give me a more sophisticated here explanation.
Yeah, the simplest answer I can give, speaking about what Forge is today, is that it's a toolkit provided by Atlassian to build enterprise-ready cloud apps. You can theoretically build extensions for products like Jira and Confluence using all kinds of services, external databases from Google Cloud or AWS. Forge, however, harmonizes that development process. And this has a couple of benefits. First of all, it enables badges like Runs in Atlassian because Forge offers a level of security and control that can check automatically. And yeah, secondly, like Julia said, it's easier. It's like Lego in some terms. The platform empowers everyone, not only Atlassian partners, also customers, to build extensions. For example, you don't need to figure out how to host a database. Forge provides a SQL database that automatically runs in the right location, for example. And at Seibert, customers now even approach us for Forge workshops so that they can build their own apps. And that's definitely something I would not have recommended on older platforms like P2 or Connect. So with Forge, an app can be spun up within minutes and by pretty much everyone.
Darin, I'd love to hear your perspective on Forge.
Yeah, I love that Julian mentioned P2. It like harkens back to the old days of server apps, if anyone doesn't remember. And what's wild is like P2 is actually Java, and with Forge we kind of get to use our own, but mostly JavaScript. So it's really fun for me is like I worked on Forge back when I was at Atlassian. This was our like brainchild of spotting the future. P2 was great in the server world because it was like you could take over the entire instance. But as we moved to cloud, we then came up with Connect, which was a nice constrained way to build apps, and it worked really well. But there was a thing we spotted years ago, which is there needs to be a way to have a more deeper integrated app experience that isn't necessarily iframes or that can be risks related to Connect of the data ingress egress. And so Forge was really created by that really smart team out in Sydney as a way to solve for it. For us in Opus Guard, we couldn't exist without Forge. So it's like what's really fascinating here is because we're so related to compliance and governance, when I invented the product with Shu, our co-founder, we didn't want any of that data egress because we're so connected to compliance. And so we needed that platform that allows us to do everything within the system and contain directly. And Forge really allows us to do that. It also allows us to move incredibly fast. The thing I really love about Forge is just how easy it is to roll out those updates based on customer feedback. And the Forge platform continues to evolve. One last note is I just love seeing how fast it evolved from, I think it was introduced in 2019 is when we first did it at Atlas Camp. Now there's a UI kit that allows us to bring in visualizations. There's an API layer that's coming in soon that'll allow the apps to talk to each other. The SQL database that Julian mentioned, there's so much we can build with Forge. And so I really do see like our apps are great now and they're going to continue to get better.
Awesome. I love
Yeah.
hearing when marketplace partners explain Forge because I feel like you almost do a better job than we do in marketing because you're working so closely with it. So appreciate that. One topic that comes up a lot when it comes to cloud apps is data. So folks want to know like where it's stored and where it's processed, who has access to it, and what protections are in place to manage cloud security or data security. Martin, maybe you could start by talking about like sharing what those conversations have looked like with some of your own customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we take data security extremely seriously here at AppFox. And our head of development has really super high standards and he's really, really good at making sure our apps are well built. So we've been ISO 27001 certified for a while. We're just about to get SOC 2 Type 2 as well. And that kind of shows you that's an independent verification of the commitment that we've got to data security. But that doesn't kind of solve all the problems. That doesn't, our customers want to know more. And we are having increasingly detailed conversations with our customers about what our back-end infrastructure looks like, how it's architected, how it works, really getting down into the weeds. And these conversations are really worthwhile. We like being challenged. We like to prove how good our apps are, but they're time consuming. For both parties, it takes a long time. We get a lot of security questionnaires, for example, where we have to show, and evidence everything. So while it's really good that we do those things, because we don't just want to do the right things, but we also need to communicate we do the right things. I think it's very important. It runs on Atlassian, helps us to shortcut that process a little bit.
Oh yeah, as I said, we are in Germany. So when we talk to customers, and we have many German customers, obviously, one app always comes up when we are talking about apps. Where is my data stored? And that's a fair question, especially for admins running larger Jira or Confluence sites. If you have only like one or two apps, it might still be manageable to figure out where the data is going and whether that lines up with your company's policies, for example. But once you add more apps, 10 or even more, and that's quite common on larger sites, it gets a lot harder. At some point, your data could spread across 10 different servers in 10 different countries, maybe all under different laws. And that's where things start to get messy, especially because apps also change over time as new versions are released, and no one reads the changelogs of 10 apps every day. And in our past conversations with customers, this situation even often led to dropping many less frequently used apps, especially when customers migrate from data center to cloud, simply because the effort to assess all of them wasn't worth it. Forge, however, Forge apps must define what it's allowed to do and which servers are involved, and all that happens in one central manifest file that can process automatically. And this allows batches like runs on Atlassian. And also for Seibert, this makes it much easier to give customers an up-to-date overview of where their data could potentially be stored. And yeah, like I said, this is the groundwork that now allows initiatives like Runs on Atlassian. So the marketplace can automatically highlight apps that do not store any data outside of the Atlassian ecosystem at all.
I feel you both so much, like with the time spent on the security related conversations and like with this, like going into the weeds, like it resonates with me. And when we were smaller, like those conversations, they started something as ad hoc a while ago. Yeah, and currently we ended up building like the whole process around the security questions, and we literally have a team for that. We have like person from security team, obviously, person from the legal team, dedicated product manager for that. And I remember there was this one security questionnaire. It took us a month to fill it. There was a lot of back and forth between us and customers, but this is like our personal record, well, maybe anti-record. A lot of things were not clear, so yeah, it took a long time. And some of those conversations, they were actually super short, but with, well, unfortunately sad outcome, because customers asked us about where our data was posted. We're like there and there, like, oh, sorry guys, no, it's a blocker for us. And yeah, well, I hope to never hear this feedback again for our Forge apps.
Yeah, it kind of leads me into my next question of these barriers that we know customers face when they're installing apps, right? Like we hear a lot about lengthy review processes, and I'm hoping that you guys could share some of your own experiences with the approval processes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead, Martin.
go on. No, carry on, carry on.
Yeah, I was actually gonna start. So I love the shout out on SOC 2, and actually it really plays in really well here. Like we're going through our SOC 2 Type 2 right now, and it's so it's wild. Like we're a small company that's getting going. We've got some great customers coming in, and like I had to do performance reviews for the first time for my team because that's part of SOC 2, and I just thought that was funny where normally SOC 2 is so focused on the apps themselves and how they execute, but because we're running on Forge, our like compliance space just kind of got a nice checkbox because it was inherited by Atlassian security posture. So when like our consultant was like, "We're gonna pen test your app," we're like, "Okay, go pen test Atlassian." But it was fun. But what's really nice though is when we talk about that barrier to entry, it's just such an easy checkbox for customers now to see that that runs on Atlassian. Great, you've got it. And then so the SOC 2 is really just about that bolstering who we are as a company and making sure that we're also trustworthy, which is great. And Atlassian's been awesome in helping that too. But for like when we talk about the process for someone onboarding, so we have some regulated industries are big for us. They're the ones who really are like worried about the governance of the content, making sure they keep it and everything. But when we look at the RFPs, we get to skip through a good half of them on how the app runs with Atlassian. It's just a check, check, check. And for us, what's really cool is we then get to focus on the customer needs and the product fit even more than before. Because it's all about, wait, can it do this? Can it do that? And what's really neat is for whenever there's a gap or a new customer need, we just can spin up our development environment so quickly and push out those updates thanks to Forge. And that's just a really powerful thing for anyone building on Atlassian to then be able to focus truly on the product and the solution. And you know, I'll turn over to Martin in a second, but it's really just like the customers in their cycle here are really all about that reassurance that it's running on Atlassian, that the data is contained in, and how we do it. And so it does skip a few steps. And so a lot of our focus is that typical, like the data residency. We're getting increased attention from EU customers because of how the data is flowing. And again, Forge just allows us to say, it's all good. It's all part of Atlassian.
Yeah, a lot of what you say resonates very similar. We're a small company, also going through SOC 2, as I mentioned earlier. And it has been a great opportunity for us to validate our security posture, to validate that we're doing the right thing. One of the things that we've recently introduced is Vanta. It's a trust management platform, and actually it's great. So it allows us to record all of our documents and policies, and then to be able to expose them really nicely and easily to our customers, to show that we're doing the right thing, that we've got the performance management policies that you mentioned, that we're doing them too. And I think what's also quite nice about Vanta, because we do have some other apps that are not runs on Atlassian yet, it also helps to constantly verify and check that we're doing the right things as well. So it shows that engineers are doing their security training. So not just that our apps are right, but our engineers are, know what they're doing, that our vendor risk assessments are up to date, that, everything is in the right place. And that helps to shorten those conversations as well. And it gives that visibility and the reassurance that you mentioned. And I think that that's super important, that we're all doing the right things.
Yeah, I can quickly add here, like it's a bit off topic from the Fortune runs on Atlassian. And just before this call, I was on a call with our security team. We're also passing SOC 2 certification right now. And yeah, we're using Drake instead of Vanta. But my expectations for SOC 2 are similar, well, to what runs on Atlassian brings, like to shortcut a lot of lengthy conversation and to have like more this trust signals for the especially enterprise customers. So yep, looking forward for that.
Yeah, those are such great points. Really does make such a difference. And I love hearing that you've been working with Vanta. I know they're such a great team to work with, Martin. So obviously Runs on Atlassian has only been live on the marketplace for a relatively short time, but we're already seeing a lot of excitement around this badge. And I'm curious to hear from you, what do you expect the badge, or how do you expect the badge, I suppose, to change the data and security conversations that you're having with customers? Julia, do you want to start?
Yep, I actually have a good example here. I already had this dream conversation with one of our enterprise data center customers. We scheduled a meeting with them at Anaheim at Team 25. They wanted to discuss their cloud migration, and like everyone came prepared, loaded with bullet points to discuss. And after some small talk, they're like, okay, let's go into the weeds and discuss your security situation. And we mentioned that we are compliant with runs on Atlassian, and that we recently rewrote our app on Forge. And I felt this moment of relief, like everyone exhaled. They're like, okay, so this question was covered. This conversation was over. But we used the rest of our time to discuss their feature requests, which, like Darin also mentioned before, like these are most important conversations, I think, with the customers, to focus on their needs, to see what else we can deliver for them, and to spend much less time on the security back and forth questions.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story. Actually, we have had the same experiences even before the Runs on Atlassian badge, when only Forge was a known term on the Atlassian community. The first customers were super curious about it, especially the larger customers were in the middle of a process migrating from data center to cloud. They were super curious because they already learned that there's a possibility to move infrastructure to the place where their Jira or Confluence runs. So Forge alone led to a noticeable change how customers behave and how customers do their app assessment. And we had many conversations with customers moving from data center to cloud, and the conversations always went similar. They were like, "Hey, I like your app, but has it already been migrated to Forge?" I think 1 or 2 years ago, customers started asking that question, and either us as a marketplace partner or our consultants at the solution business. So many customers asked that question about the Forge migration that we've even built a website which is publicly available, forge-apps.com, to provide our consultants and customers, if they want, with a list of all marketplace apps and whether they had already been migrated. So this was for the time before the Runs on Atlassian badge, based on customer demand already. So and our consultants and some customers at Seibert still use that page every day. So to check how the migration process is going for their bigger apps, and whether an app has a Runs on Atlassian badge or not. And now, as the badge is an official part on the marketplace, we expect this effect that customers are curious about what platform is in use to intensify. And we expect the runs on Atlassian badge basically to become a key indicator when customers look at buying a new app.
Yeah, we also know that website, yeah.
Martin or Darin, do you have anything to add?
I mean, I would just reinforce, I think, what was already said. I think we've had similar conversations in Anaheim. I had customers come up to me and say, "Hey, is your app runs on Atlassian?" And there was a relief often when we said yes. If there was a no, it didn't kind of end the conversation, of course. But it certainly made things easier. I mean, as I mentioned before, we invest a lot in kind of making sure that our apps are built in the right way, that we're all cloud fortified, the major apps are cloud fortified, and it sets the standard and expectation. But certainly the runs on Atlassian badge and badges like cloud fortified, like runs on Atlassian, they all help to build a little bit more trust to help to be able to show it. So really just emphasizing what the other panelists have already said, that it helps to shortcut a few of the conversations.
Yeah, actually, Team 25 was a lot of fun in Anaheim, and like runs on Atlassian. I believe we announced it at Team 25, and it was really interesting. Like our booth, we were part of the Atlassian Ventures booth, and the conversation was like the first thing they asked was, "Are you runs on Atlassian?" In fact, it was more than the cloud fortified. We're both, because we know that's so important for so many enterprise customers, especially. But it was interesting because then what it helped with the customers was that many people aren't familiar with what Forge is. And if we really think about it, maybe they don't really need to know what Forge is, more than that reassurance that it's under the Atlassian umbrella, like we've already talked about. I mean, Forge is really a development product. It's great. But for a customer who's like, I need something that solves this extra piece to make Atlassian work, and can it be trusted? That is actually even more important. That's what our conversation shifted to, which was really great, because sometimes as developers, we get really into the weeds of how we build things. And we remember that our customers don't care. They just want it to be secure and solve the job to be done. And that's what this does. One more checkbox for us. The DC conversation is awesome too, because we work with so many partners, solutions partners, that are working through this long tail of DC migrations. And it's not that people don't want to move from DC to cloud. It's just that added level of security, which is you can't bring all your apps. It's really hard to do that because of the way the apps used to run. We talked about the P2 framework, where it runs within the box. And when you go to cloud, you're talking ingress and egress, and the entire posture changes. And so Forge really helps. What's been wild on our case is we're not on DC, and now we're getting requests of, can you build on DC so you can move us over to cloud? And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. But that's really fascinating because we've now unlocked cloud in such a new way. And then there was even one thing that was really cool that came out of Team that we realized that we can do with Forge, which is we have the mechanism for our apps to talk to each other within themselves. So we were able to actually build a light version of our app that shows the demo of what it can do. So people can get an easier taste of what compliance looks like in our space without the full commitment. And what was really neat is you can manipulate your policies and build all these things on the light version of the Forge app for free. And then when you're ready to convert, thanks to Forge, you just hit the button, upgrade to the other app, and all your policies transfer over. It's a really neat manipulation of how Forge can work. And again, without any of that data ingress or egress. So it's just been a lot of fun to really share that with customers. In Team 25, we were at Team 24 in Vegas, and that conversation evolved so much with the runs on Atlassian between those 2 years.
Nice. Yeah. One of my favorite things about going to Team each year is just seeing how the conversations evolve year over year about like what folks are asking about with trust or security or compliance or AI, et cetera, et cetera. So it's neat to see that you're having the same experience with the runs on Atlassian and Forge badge evolving those conversations. So my next question is another one that I'd love to hear from each of you on again, because achieving the runs on Atlassian badge obviously has been a conscious choice that you've made, that you have put some required technical investment into. And I'm curious, what did it take for you to achieve runs on Atlassian, and why did you decide that it was going to be worthwhile? So, Martin, can you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Actually, for Optimize, it was super straightforward because we was built kind of runs on Atlassian right from the beginning. We built it in Forge with the toolkits, didn't have any data regress, so it was effectively automatic. And so that means that you can use it to kind of help improve your Jira instance health right now with absolute confidence. I think one of the things we're looking across the rest of our apps, we are committed to migrating all of our apps to Forge and then to runs on Atlassian when it makes sense. We can't do that right now because, as you mentioned in the intro, there are some, doing external compute and etc. outside means that you don't get the runs on Atlassian badge rightly, and we use some kind of advanced functionality in our apps that means that we need to keep that for now. But I can see that there's an awful lot of innovation happening within Atlassian. Forge is evolving very quickly, and as the platform kind of builds out, we're very eager to take advantage of it. Start to move some of that functionality away from the compute and the data that's in other systems and put it into the runs on Atlassian Forge platform. So there might be some others that have you can never do like an integration, etc. But I'm really excited about the sorts of things that Atlassian are building into Forge, and I think that it's going to make it very, very simple in the future to effectively default to being a runs on Atlassian in the future.
Our story is different from your optimizer story, which is probably like the most straightforward way to be compliant with runs on Atlassian. Yeah, for us, I mean, it's the future to build apps on Forge with Connect being deprecated and so on. And for us, it was clear that we'll need to migrate eventually. And I think honestly, we just didn't find a good reason not to do it. Like why postponing it? And yeah, on the top of that, also the amount of migrating data center customers, they kept this sense of urgency. And engineering-wise, we did it actually pretty quick. We had a team of 4 people and a time frame of about 3 months to migrate Smart Checklist, which is our main app. And well, as usually looking at this process now retrospectively, we can see that at least 1 month could have been cut from there. But okay, like we possess this knowledge right now. And we're actually open to help other vendors to migrate to Forge. So this is a nice experience to share.
Yeah, for Seibert, it's not too easy to give an answer that applies for all of our apps because we have quite a few on the marketplace. But for the most of the apps, it's been quite easy to build on Forge, especially nowadays. Like I said, a new Forge, a new Confluence or Jira app is like spun up within minutes and it's up and running. So that's easy, especially for our apps that have always been part of the Forge platform. I had the chance to attend the Forge launch presentation back in 2019 at the Atlas Camp. I think it was in Vienna, where Atlassian presented the Forge platform and the possibility to deploy apps onto Jira and onto Confluence servers really stuck with me. And that's probably also the reason why Seibert was among the first partners to release Forge apps on the marketplace. So in terms of technical investment, this of course means it was easy for those apps because there was no migration at all. But it wasn't always fun and games like 6 years ago to build on Forge, of course, because it was a platform that hasn't had all of the features that it has nowadays. Like for our apps, Agile Hive and Templating.app, those apps have evolved along the Forge roadmap and along the capabilities that Forge offers. But still it works. Even 3-4 years ago, we had the first customers migrating to cloud that were super happy with a limited feature set, but with only Atlassian servers in place. So customers already back then really appreciated that. And even though for our development teams, it has slowed down development at times, but this is not the case anymore nowadays with all the features that Forge offers. Now we have the second group of our apps that are built on Connect because they are like older, and those will migrate to Forge eventually, of course. And we are in the middle of the process of doing it. Actually, as soon as this call ends, I will open my IDE again and work on a migration. So that's what I'm doing when I'm not on the Zoom call. And yeah, it's nowadays, I don't think that there are any major blockers anymore to move the most Connect modules Forge. And like I said, enterprise customers really appreciate that. So we will migrate to Forge. We will do that investment based on the knowledge that we now have wherever possible, and runs on Atlassian where it makes sense, like Martin said. And yeah, during the Team 25 event, we even launched a second Draw.io app, which has a limited feature set, but runs on Atlassian, because this is the best experience that we can offer a customer right now based on the current platform capabilities. And yeah, already during the event in Anaheim, we've met so many customers that really appreciated that. A limited feature set, however, on Atlassian service. And yeah, we will want to bring that same experience to all of our apps.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that. Like, for us, I feel like the time and place was perfect for us, because if we talk about Vegas 24, Team 24, there was still a large buzz and focus on AI and the expand capabilities. And that is still a hero message with products like Rovo. And what's really neat, though, is in Team 25 at Anaheim, the conversation shifted up market, it felt, which is now not only are we interested as customers about the capabilities of AI and these new workflows, but we're also getting increasingly concerned with all the things that these products do and all the data they have access and how they can do things. Like, we're in a way coming to this like great reckoning of the CISO suite of locking things back down and a little tighter control. And again, like Forge allows for that. So for us, we feel we were a little ahead of the time on what we introduced, but it was consciously go with Forge because of that level of compliance we're trying to solve for. That in Connect, it would have just introduced a new threat vector, a new risk vector, that even though we would solve for so many things, then we would have been a simple attack to then compromise everything. And that's not true of all Connect apps. I want to say, like, Connect is still incredibly valuable, but for us, because of what we're doing as such an admin power tool, it just was a non-starter. And so we really needed that time to come right. And Forge evolved just right. UIKit 2 came out right when we were coming to market. And I know for the people on the call, like UIKit 1, UIKit 2, it's kind of just a term, but UIKit 2 allowed us to bring in visualization and make a more rich experience that was more flexible. And this was like the feedback that went to Atlassian to help us do this, which is UIKit 1 was incredibly limited. So most of us had to develop a front end within Forge to complement the back end, which the promise of Forge in the beginning was that you wouldn't have to do that. So again, the stars aligned on us around in 2024, and the market increasingly aware of this compliance angle is really neat. By the way, Julian, yeah, Vienna, really fun event, right? Like that, I think we were across the street from like this awesome amusement park even. And one thing for all the people on the call that's so fun, if you ever get a chance to attend a team event, or they call them the Atlas Camp events, which are really developer focused, is the community within Atlassian is unlike any other ecosystem you will see. Like, we are all friends, we all play together, we all grow together. It's very friendly and just, it's unlike anything else. I'm just so excited to be here on the other side for once, but yeah.
I would like to add here, like everyone mentions how Forge evolves, and I actually felt that, like, when we started our migration, there was no Forge database, like it appeared during few months that we were rewriting the app, and you know, it felt like a very interesting experience, like you're working in a startup, or like where things change very quickly, and I actually enjoyed this, like being on the same wave with Atlassian and like following all the changes. So yeah, it was cool. And still Porsche is being evolved more and more.
Nice, very good. Well, while we're talking about the future wave, I'd love to hear from you guys about what future plans do you have to deliver solutions that are serving customers with pretty strict data management needs?
Yeah, I think, like I said, short-term plans are after this call, migrating the next Forge next function of one of our apps to a Forge Lambda to make it runs in Atlassian eventually. So the runs in Atlassian batch is certainly the milestone we are working towards with all of our apps where it makes sense. So this is what we have on our roadmap for the next month. However, those of you who watched the keynote, the founders keynote at the Team 25 event from Anaheim know that there are more projects on the way for customers with those strict data management needs in regulated industries, for example, health insurances, and so on. And also Forge enables those new initiatives, for example, Atlassian Government Cloud and Isolated Cloud. And I think both topics even had their own booth during the event in Anaheim. And we are already in contact with customers interested in both offerings or one of the offerings. And what we've learned so far is that supporting Isolated Cloud and Atlassian Government Cloud becomes obviously significantly easier when the app is already runs on Atlassian, and because questionnaires are involved, stricter rules are involved. And when you're already complying with the runs on Atlassian rules, it's easier to also comply with the things that those customers need. And yeah, that's why we are long-term. We are continuing to migrate as much of our infrastructure as possible to Atlassian servers to provide the best experience for also those customers with strict compliance and security requirements. Also beyond that runs an Atlassian badge. And then by the end of the year, or maybe next year, I'll attend the next Atlassian developer conference, of course. So yeah, it's true what Darin said. They're always fun. Atlassian, especially the developer-focused events, they're usually for 1 week, 5 days or so, and it feels like a hackathon, not just working in the office, just with many Atlassians and other Atlassian partners in the same building, and that's always super fun. And yeah, as soon as we learn about the dates for next year or this year, yeah, you should check if you can, if you can come over.
I have a feeling that Darin misses events to some extent, like Team 25 was not that long ago, but we're already talking about visiting more and more events. Yeah, speaking of plans, I like Julian, your plan, like to jump into idea and code right after this call. So I do not have that straightforward plans, but similar to what you mentioned, our next plan was to make smart checklists available for Government Cloud, and this actually happened last week. So I'm very excited to see how it will go, like to see the first customers adopting it. And also we're in the process of rewriting our second app smart templates to Forge as well. And after that, we want to try bundles of apps. So as some of you may know, this is a new upcoming feature of Marketplace, where a vendor or even several vendors can bundle their apps and publish them in a single Marketplace entry. And yeah, so this is very exciting to see how runs on Atlassian bundles will work.
Yeah, so one of my plans, we're speaking a lot about events today. One of my plans is to go to Team 25 in Barcelona in October. We've got a booth that I'm very excited for that. It's going to be a load of fun. And I'm sure that there'll be a load more announcements and things that we can share there. I mean, a little bit like you mentioned, Julian, I think, we've got a lot of customers that are using data center versions of our apps. It's a very big part of who we are. It's one of the reasons why we take our data security very seriously. And I had the excitement at Team about Government Cloud, about Isolated Cloud, and many more. But I'm also hearing that a lot of the customers who are using data center today do want to take advantage of the innovation that's happening, but they want to do it in a safe and secure way. They want to make sure that their data is protected. So AppFox is absolutely looking at how we can help that migration happen, how a data center customer can move to Isolated Cloud, to the Government Cloud, to the Commercial Cloud. And that is around security, etc. But then our apps are also there to be able to help to control data. So, for example, a customer who has migrated their Confluence instance to the cloud can then start using the latest LLMs or generative AI to kind of understand their data, but they need to do that in a safe and secure and considerate way. So I think that there's super excitement for the future. I'm very much looking forward both going to Team into Barcelona, to going to whatever Team 26 looks like, and to then also seeing what the future of Forge and Runs on Atlassian looks like as well.
Yeah, I actually want to call. There's so much good stuff, right? That's coming that actually really allows us to grow so well in Forge. I'm really excited for Team 25 Barcelona and Team 26 in Anaheim again. Next time we'll go to Disneyland, right? But we'll be there with you, Martin, and we're gonna have a booth as well through the Atlassian Ventures. So we're excited to show off our new capabilities. We talked a little bit here about government and isolated cloud, and I think that's something that, like, boy, I wish we highlight even more, which is Forge allows us to do that. So when we talked about how Atlassian is moving up market into enterprises and regulated space, that isolated cloud, that gov cloud capability is huge. And for us, again, without that ingress egress, it makes it so easy for us to move with Atlassian. Content retention manager being there for those regulated industries through these places, super helpful. The bundles that Julia just mentioned, there's what we do is just one of many things that help these customers meet compliance. There's also backup solutions, there's identity solutions. We're complementary with Atlassian Guard as to being able to inherit some of those policies into our app, which is really neat. And so I do expect to see some really cool bundles come out that actually help customers who need these requirements get one package together, which can be really neat. Something that I was really excited about too, that's like telling what we're building into as well as Rovo, which when Rovo announced and now that's available to everyone, it's really cool. And what I was particularly excited about is how many customers have started using it and they're like, wait, what is all this stuff on our Confluence space and Jira? It's like back to the great compliance risk era, it's also like the great cleanup is about to happen because in order to make AI better, we actually have to have a better underlying model of our systems. And there's some really neat things that we can do with Forge there to help make that better. And we're even exploring doing potentially a Rovo agent to increase that posture. But the more immediate thing we're working on, thanks to Forge, that's going to be coming up and hopefully in time for Barcelona, is a little more user-facing capabilities. Since we're such an admin app, we also want to leverage Forge to get in the product, in the Jira projects themselves, in the tickets, as well as the Confluence pages, to give a little more control to the end user who really owns their content and send those signals between user and admin. And these are things that, again, weren't really easily possible with Confluence without a lot of back and with Connect without a lot of back and forth. This allows us to put our app directly in the page so people can quickly flag what the content is, what the retention policy is, allow an admin to come back and verify. It's really neat stuff that we're able to bring in.
Very good. Panelists, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we open it up for Q&A? All right. So we have a question from Suresh who wonders, is there a way to add the marketplace developer badge to a marketplace profile? And that would be for individual users who want to start their own business. I think I will actually ask Karen on the call if she can speak to this.
Yes, I can take a first pass at this and maybe then pass to some of our panelists. It sounds like this attendee is asking, how do you actually become a marketplace partner? And there are a lot of really great resources within our developer portal. So if you go to developer.atlassian.com, there's a whole section of that portal that's dedicated to giving you an overview of like what that process looks like, what are the requirements to list an app on the marketplace, how do you create a vendor profile. I don't know if like any of the partners who are on this call want to share some tips or their own experience about what it was like. Yeah, go for it, Darin.
Yeah, I could share. I mean, from both sides. What's really cool about developing on Atlassian is it's available to everyone for free. Unlike some other ecosystems, there's no pay to play, there's no entry fee, Atlassian makes it incredibly easier to go to developers.atlassian.com, create an account in which you immediately get access to all the SDKs, the APIs. I also want to give a shout out to the Atlassian for Startups team, which is if you're a little more mature, but not too mature, I think it's less than 50 people. There's ways to get access to Atlassian premium products for free for that first year, and it's a way to accelerate. The other thing I want to plug too is if you do want to become a developer, you can send a ticket, and I think it's also through developers.atlassian.com and a couple other getting started pages where you send it in and you get immediate access. I believe it's 5 user free or basically almost an Atlassian free account immediately to develop on. And that's all the Atlassian products. So it's incredibly easy. I know there's no badge, but you immediately get to come into the community. You'll get an opportunity to register for these developer events and meet all of us at the next developer event. And then finally, I do want to plug the developer community one more time, which is it's very open and it is like a giant hackathon and we're all there helping each other. We're all hacking up the API. The developers in Atlassian know more about what Atlassian can do via API than people inside Atlassian, and I can confirm that from being on both sides. Where I was at Vienna, I'm like, wait, you're not supposed to be able to do that. How'd you do it? Like, well, the API, there's this and that, right? And even our own apps, we've been able to manipulate certain things that go beyond. So it's an incredibly great community to be a developer in.
Yeah, when it's about becoming an Atlassian Marketplace partner, there's another important step, which is getting swag, Atlassian Developer and Atlassian Marketplace swag. And I think there is of course, the events are a good chance to get some, but I think there's a hackathon going on that is related to Forge. I've forgotten its name. I think it's Forge Quest or something like bonus level. And I think you have 20 days to build your first Forge app, kind of, and then you will get some swag. So this is something you could do next after signing up for all the different forums and platforms.
Is there going to be a Code Geist this year, Mel? Or
Yes.
Karen? Oh,
Yes, there will.
For those on the call who don't know,
Yes.
Code Geist is like this year-long hackathon opportunity that any new developer and existing developers get to submit apps, and the award is actually pretty great.
Yeah.
But again, like there's a lot of fun things as a developer.
Exactly. Yeah, Codegeist is an annual tradition, so we will be bringing back our hackathon and Forge Quest, which Julian was just talking about. I just dropped the link. All you have to do to participate in Forge Quest is do 1 or 2 short tutorials, show us proof that you completed the tutorial, and we'll send you a t-shirt. So great way to get some limited edition swag.
Awesome. All right, we have about 2 minutes left. If anybody has other questions, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A box now. Otherwise, I think we'll be wrapping up in just a minute. I'll give it a second to see if anybody has a final question they want to share. Okay, well, I don't see any questions rolling in, so thank you so much to our panelists. I really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing the time. And of course, taking the time to build runs in Atlassian apps. I know that they're really going to serve some amazing customer needs, and excited to see what you all do next. Thank you, everybody on the call who joined us today. We'll share the recording out at a later date, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.